I'm Carol, and my heart story began in August of 2024. I live in Ottawa, and I'm retired. And I was home alone that day, sitting in my living room. All of a sudden, I felt pain go right across, right at the top. I have fibromyalgia, and I've experienced many different kinds of pain. This was not a fibromyalgia pain. So I figured to wait it out and see what happened. Well, the pain intensified, and it intensified again. Then it started going up my neck and down into my armpits. And that's when I knew I needed to go to the hospital. From my previous first aid training, I knew that in an emergency, you always call an ambulance. That way, the medical help is coming to you. You're not trying to get to the medical help. If you get stuck in traffic, there's no one to help you. So I called a friend to get me to the hospital. I knew it was wrong. I knew I should have called an ambulance. I thought about it after, and I realized that I didn't want to make a fuss. I couldn't be having a heart attack. I got to the hospital, and they started doing tests. They decided to admit me. I figured if that's what they are saying, that's where I need to be. So they did the tests, and the doctors weren't really sure what was going on, but they were treating me as if I had had a heart attack. Around 10 o'clock at night, a doctor walks in, and she sits down beside me on the chair beside the bed, and very softly she says, "You had a heart attack." It's hard to hear. And I figured I'd try it on for size. So I said, "I had a heart attack." She said, "I'm so sorry." I said, No, you're just telling me, and this is something I need to deal with. So eventually she left. Later, the doctor who had admitted me came in, and I said, "So I had a heart attack." He says, No, you didn't. No, we don't know. No, you didn't have a heart attack. And there began the roller coaster, the up and down of, you had a heart attack. No, you didn't have a heart attack. Oh yeah, you had a heart attack. No, you didn't. So I was in the hospital for several days, and then they told me I was going to need an angiogram. And I was told this was the definitive test. I would know for sure whether I had had a heart attack. So they sent me from the hospital I'd been admitted in over to the Heart Institute by ambulance. So I was monitored, everything. So I arrive at the Heart Institute, and eventually they take me into the angiogram suite. So I'm laying on the table, and I like to know what's going on. And I was asking questions, and one of the nurses said, "Oh, you should stop talking now. The wire's in your heart." I'm going, "Oh, okay. I didn't even know they had started yet." Next thing I know, the doctor who was doing the procedure turned to me and said, "You didn't have a heart attack." Boy, that was kind of brisk. Like, am I wasting your time? Am I taking valuable time from somebody else? And then I realized, he said, "You didn't have a heart attack, and this is great news." So they sent me back to the admitting hospital via patient transport in a wheelchair. I didn't need monitoring. I didn't have a heart attack. So I knew I was going home the next morning. So the next morning arrives, and I'm all packed. I'm ready to go. I'm waiting for my discharge papers. And the nurses tell me that the doctors are in their morning meeting, and that after that, they will come around and talk to me. So I'm ready to go. I'm just waiting. Next thing I know, the admitting doctor came in, and he walked right by my bed over to the window beside my bed, and he had his back to me. And he said, "You had a heart attack," in a sort of defeated way, like he'd been telling me all along, no, you didn't. And now he was struggling maybe to tell me I had, that he had been wrong. I don't know. But I was shocked. Yesterday, the angiogram, the definite said no, and now he's telling me yes. So I said, "Well, but my coronary arteries were great." He said, "Oh yeah, they were absolutely great. Keep doing whatever you're doing." He says, "We believe you had a MINOCA." And to me, it sounded like a fancy coffee you'd order at a coffee shop. He said it's short for myocardial infarction, non-obstructive coronary arteries. So I'm looking at him, and he brings out a booklet and he presents it to me, and it's from the Heart Institute, so I know it's a reliable source. And he says, yeah, here's a book that you can have. It's a type 2 heart attack. And I'm thinking, I never knew there was 2 types. He opens the booklet and he goes down the list and he says, we think you had this one, a microvascular dysfunction. So I'm shocked. I'm at the point where they're going to discharge me. And he produced another booklet. This one was the peer support program, the Women at Heart. He said, this will be good for you. He said, I'm referring you to them, and I'm also referring you for cardio rehab, and then referral to a cardiologist. So I'm in a daze, and he discharges me, and I go home. My husband had picked me up. Very shortly, within a day or two, I received an email from Women at Heart, and I signed up for a session as soon as I could. This group was wonderful. The women were very kind and compassionate, and we all shared our stories. And I'm listening to the other women, and I'm thinking, I had a minuscule, very small, almost non-event in my mind. And they're all here, and I'm taking up a spot where somebody else who needs this should be here. And then I realized all the women, big or small, we all had heart attacks. And we had to cope with that, come to terms with it. Then I knew I was in the right place. The peer leaders of the group were very knowledgeable, and they were great. Any question they couldn't answer for us, they got the answers for us. I'm very grateful that I was referred to them. I had been waiting for a call from cardio rehab because I wanted to do everything I could to help my heart. And I hadn't heard from them. So I called the Heart Institute and I said, I had a heart attack and I've been waiting for a call. So I just want to follow up. She said, just a minute. She came back, she goes, it says here, you didn't have a heart attack. Therefore, you're not eligible. It was again this yes and no, yes and no. So I said, okay. I knew I was going to be meeting the cardiologist shortly, within the next couple of weeks. And I decided I would ask him. The first thing I did when he came in the room, I asked him, did I have a heart attack? He said, oh yeah, you did. No hesitation, totally confident. And it's like, well, it's not a great answer, but I needed to know definitely. I said, they said I didn't have a heart attack at the hospital, that I wasn't eligible for cardio rehab. He says, oh, I'm going to send that for you today. They're going to get it today. I want to do some testing, but as soon as that comes back and if everything's okay, you can start cardio rehab. What a relief. So now I'm just waiting to get started on my cardio rehab now that I'm able. And I'm very grateful for all the help I received, for all the people that helped me along the way.